They cut my cake right in front of me. 3 years ago, I brought expensive champagne and a custom-decorated chocolate cake to my parents' house to celebrate the biggest achievement of my career. Within minutes, my sister Georgia had commandeered both for her own announcement. I sat silently at the kitchen table, watching my family pour my champagne into glasses, passing around slices of my cake, completely absorbed in Georgia's latest dream while I faded into the background. Again. Nobody asked why I'd brought celebration supplies in the first place. Nobody remembered I'd mentioned having news to share. Nobody noticed when I quietly excused myself an hour later. That night changed everything. I'm Callista. I'm 31 now, but back then I was 29 and about to learn the brutal difference between family and people who simply share your DNA. Some families are tight-knit units where everyone matters equally. Mine wasn't that family. Mine was the kind where one child basks in perpetual spotlight while the other masters the art of standing in shadows. Georgia, my older sister, was the golden child from day one. Her achievements commanded attention, mine barely registered as background noise. Working as a financial analyst downtown gave me something I'd never experienced at home: validation. Numbers don't play favorites. Spreadsheets don't care about family dynamics. When I analyze market trends or restructure investment portfolios, my work speaks for itself. It's probably why I threw myself so completely into my career. It was the one place where my worth wasn't constantly up for debate. 3 years ago, I was trapped in a dead-end position at a mid-level bank. My skills were wasting away in endless routine transactions. Then Blackstone Financial reached out. They wanted me specifically, not as anyone's backup plan or consolation prize, because they valued my analytical skills. The salary jump was significant, the opportunities were real, and for the first time in forever, I felt genuinely excited about my future. I wanted to share that excitement properly with my family. Not just mentioning it casually over dinner, but with a real celebration. I went to this fancy bakery downtown and ordered a gorgeous chocolate cake, the kind with multiple layers and intricate frosting that costs more than most people spend on groceries in a week. I picked up an expensive bottle of wine I'd been saving for a special occasion. This felt like that moment. Driving to my parents' house that Saturday afternoon, I felt nervous in the best possible way. Maybe this achievement would finally be big enough to earn their genuine attention. Maybe this was the day they'd see me as more than just Georgia's little sister. Their house looked exactly as it always had, that modest two-story with the rose bushes my mom obsessed over and the slightly crooked mailbox my dad never quite fixed. Georgia's car already sat in the driveway, which seemed perfect. The whole family would be there to hear my news. Walking through the front door with my arms full of celebration supplies, I felt hopeful in a way I hadn't in years. "Why did you bring cake, honey?" Mom asked, looking genuinely confused as I set everything on the kitchen counter. Georgia was at the table with Scott, her husband, and their 8-year-old Liam was coloring in some workbook. This was it, my moment. "Well, I wanted to celebrate something with you guys," I said, settling into my usual chair. "I have some really good news about work." The words had barely left my mouth when Georgia practically bounced in her seat. "Oh my God, you guys," she interrupted, eyes bright with excitement. "Scott and I have been dying to tell you our news too." Just like that, the attention shifted. It always shifted with Georgia. She had this gravitational pull that made everyone orbit around whatever she was feeling in the moment. "We've decided to open our own business," she continued, reaching for Scott's hand like they were announcing their engagement all over again. "A car wash. We've been researching locations and business loans, and it's going to be so exciting." Then she gestured toward my cake and wine sitting forgotten on the counter. "This is perfect timing, Callista. We can use these to celebrate our big announcement." My stomach dropped, but I just sat there. What was I supposed to do, fight my sister for the right to celebrate my own achievement? Demand they listen to my news first? That would make me the selfish one, the difficult sister who couldn't be happy for George's success. Scott launched into explaining their business plan while Liam asked if he could help wash cars. My parents peppered them with questions about financing, location, and customer base. They opened my wine, cut my cake, distributed slices to everyone while discussing Georgia's entrepreneurial spirit. I ate my own celebration cake while listening to my family plan out Georgia's future. The chocolate tasted like cardboard. The wine might as well have been vinegar. Nobody asked me why I'd brought cake and wine in the first place. Nobody remembered that I'd said I had news to share. After an hour of being a background character in Georgia's celebration, I quietly excused myself. I should get going, I said, standing up from the table. Oh, okay honey, Mom replied without looking up from her conversation with Georgia about business insurance. Drive safe. That was it. No curiosity about my news, no questions about why I'd seemed quiet, no acknowledgement that maybe something felt off about the whole situation. Sitting in my apartment that night, staring at the walls of my cramped rental, I made a decision that would change everything. I was done. Done trying to earn their attention, done hoping they'd care about my life, done setting myself up for disappointment every time I expected them to treat me like I mattered. If they weren't interested in being part of my life, fine. I'd stop trying to make them interested. The change was gradual but absolute. 6 months later, when I saved enough money to put a down payment on my first apartment, not a rental, an actual purchase with a mortgage and everything, I didn't tell them. When I had the closing ceremony, when I got my keys, when I threw a little housewarming party with friends from work, my family had no idea any of it was happening. Last month, I took a vacation to the Maldives. Crystal clear water, overwater bungalows, spa treatments that cost more than most people's rent. It was the trip of a lifetime, and I documented none of it on social media. Didn't mention it in conversations. Because I'd learned something powerful. When you stop expecting people to care, you stop getting hurt when they don't. But yesterday, something happened that made me want to break my own rule. My boss called me into his office around 3 in the afternoon. Daniel Pearson has been with Blackstone Financial for 15 years, and he's the kind of leader who doesn't waste time with small talk. When he asks you to sit down, it's because something significant is about to happen. Callista, he said, leaning back in his chair with an expression I couldn't quite read. I need to talk to you about your career trajectory here. My first thought was panic. Had I made some mistake? Was I being reassigned? Laid off? But then he smiled, and I realized this was something else entirely. Effective Monday, you'll be taking over as head of the Portfolio Analysis Department. You're now the youngest department head in company history. The words took a moment to process. Department head. At 29. The youngest in company history. Daniel, I started, but he held up his hand. You've earned this, Callista. In the 3 years since I recruited you from that bank, you've exceeded every expectation. Your analysis on the Pembroke merger saved us millions. Your restructuring recommendations for the Thornton portfolio increased their returns by 30%. You see solutions where others see problems. I felt tears threatening, the good kind. Nobody in my family had ever talked about me like that. Nobody had ever seen my work, really seen it, and acknowledged what I brought to the table. The promotion comes with a significant salary increase, he continued. And honestly, you deserve every penny. I have no doubt that next time we're celebrating your success, it'll be because you're running your own division. Walking out of his office, I felt this surge of something I hadn't experienced in years, the desire to celebrate with my family. Despite everything, despite 3 years of deliberately keeping them at arm's length, I wanted to share this moment with them. Maybe this achievement was big enough to bridge the gap. Maybe they'd finally see me. So I decided to throw a real party. Not just drinks with coworkers, but an actual celebration in my apartment with food and decorations and people who mattered to me. And yes, I was going to invite my family too. I sent a text to our family group chat. Hey everyone, I'm having a promotion party at my place next Saturday at 7. Hope to see you there. Georgia replied first, sorry Callista, but Scott and I already have plans that Saturday. We're taking Liam on a camping trip. Maybe next time. Camping. Georgia hates camping. She complains when restaurants are too cold, but suddenly she's ready to rough it in the wilderness? But whatever. Maybe my parents would come. 20 minutes later, Mom chimed in, Callista, I already told my book club ladies they could come over Saturday for our monthly meeting. I've been planning this for weeks. You really should have given us more notice. You always spring things on us at the last minute. More notice. I'd given them almost 2 weeks. And when did I ever spring things on them? I barely told them anything anymore. Then came the real kicker. Your father and I won't be able to make it either. You know how important my book club is to me, and you're being very inconsiderate with your timing. You only think about yourself, Callista. Only think about myself. That line hit me like a physical blow. Here I was, finally achieving something major, wanting to include them in my success, and somehow I was the selfish one. I stared at those messages for 5 solid minutes, feeling something shift inside me. Not sadness, not disappointment, but this weird sense of clarity. Like suddenly everything made perfect sense. I typed back, no problem at all. I completely understand. Have fun with your plans. And that was it. No arguing, no trying to convince them, no explaining why this mattered to me. Because what would be the point? The funny part was, I didn't even get to tell them my new address. I was planning to send it after they confirmed they were coming. But since they weren't coming, they didn't need to know where I lived. So I threw myself into party planning instead. I called this amazing catering company and ordered a full spread, fancy appetizers, main courses, desserts that look like art. Scheduled a cleaning service for Friday night so everything would be perfect. Bought good wine, craft beer, whatever people wanted. My friend Zoe offered to bring her professional camera to capture the night. My coworker Gavin volunteered to help set up. Even Daniel seemed genuinely excited about coming, which honestly meant more to me than any family approval ever could. Saturday arrived, and I spent the day getting ready. Got my hair done at this salon downtown, picked out this perfect dress that made me feel confident and successful. Set up my apartment so everything looked magazine-worthy. The catered food arrived exactly on time, and the place looked absolutely stunning. By 7 sharp, people started arriving. Zoe came first with this gorgeous bouquet of flowers. Then Gavin and his girlfriend Haley, then more coworkers, college friends who still lived in the city, even a few neighbors I'd gotten friendly with. By 8, my apartment was full of laughter and genuine celebration. The best part? Nobody asked where my family was. These people knew me well enough to understand that if they weren't there, there was probably a good reason. Around 9, Daniel stood up with his wine glass and called for everyone's attention. I want to make a toast, he said, and the whole room went quiet. Callista, he continued, looking directly at me, you have completely earned this promotion. In the 3 years since I recruited you, you've exceeded every expectation I had. You're dedicated, brilliant, and you have this incredible ability to see solutions where other people only see problems. I could feel myself getting emotional. Nobody in my family had ever described me like that. What makes this even more special, Daniel continued, is that Callista is now the youngest department head in our company's history. At 29, she's achieved something most people don't reach until their 40s or 50s. I couldn't be more proud to have her on our team. The room erupted in applause and cheers. I actually had tears in my eyes, happy tears for once. But Daniel wasn't finished. With this promotion comes a significant salary increase. And honestly, Callista deserves every penny. I have no doubt that the next time we're celebrating her success, it will be in some luxury house she's bought with all that new money. Everyone laughed and cheered again. Zoe was recording the whole thing on her phone, capturing this moment I never wanted to forget. After that, other people made toasts. My friend Haley talked about how proud she was to know me. Gavin made jokes about how I was going to be everyone's boss someday. It was perfect. Absolutely perfect. The party lasted until almost midnight. People were having such a good time that nobody wanted to leave. For the first time in forever, I felt truly celebrated, truly seen. The next morning, I woke up feeling amazing. Made coffee, started cleaning up, and for the first time in months, I felt like sharing my happiness with the world. Why not post something on social media? I posted some pictures Zoe had taken, including that video of Daniel's speech. I wrote, grateful for everyone who came out to celebrate my promotion to department head. Couldn't ask for better friends and colleagues. Officially the youngest department head in company history. Still can't believe it. Then I put my phone away and spent the next couple hours cleaning up from the party, just enjoying the aftermath of a celebration well done. When I finally checked my phone around noon, I had 37 missed calls. Mom, Dad, Georgia, Scott, Mom again, Georgia again, over and over. The calls started around 10 that morning and didn't stop until I picked up my phone. I didn't call them back. Instead, I opened our family group chat, and the messages waiting there were something else entirely. Mom, Callista honey, I just saw your post. I had no idea you worked for Blackstone Financial. That's such a prestigious company. Dad, so proud of you, sweetheart. Department head at your age is incredible. Georgia, OMG Callista, why didn't you tell us you bought an apartment? It looks amazing in the video. Scott, congrats on the promotion. You're killing it. Georgia again, seriously though, when did you move? Your place looks so nice. Mom, we should have been there to celebrate with you. I feel terrible that we missed such an important night. I actually laughed out loud reading these. Like, literally laughed. Where was all this enthusiasm last week when I invited them? Where was this interest for the past 3 years? But they weren't done. The messages kept coming even while I was reading. Georgia, Callista, you have to tell us everything. I can't believe you've been keeping all this from us. Mom, your boss seems so nice and what he said about your salary increase. You must be doing so well for yourself. Dad, we need to get together soon so you can tell us all about your success. It was like watching strangers pretend to be my family. These warm, interested, proud people, where had they been my entire life? I closed the group chat without responding and went about my Sunday. Laundry, grocery shopping, meal prep for the week. Normal adult stuff that I handled on my own because I was a grown woman who didn't need family approval to function. But they didn't give up. Throughout the week, the calls kept coming. Voice messages too. Callista, it's Mom. Please call me back. I want to hear all about your job and your beautiful apartment. Hey sis, it's Georgia. I feel so bad that we didn't know about your promotion. Call me back. I want to take you shopping to celebrate. Callista, this is Dad. Your mother and I are so proud of you. We had no idea you were doing so well. Please call us back. I listened to every single message but didn't respond to any. Zoe was right when she said it at work that Tuesday. Now that they know you have money and status, suddenly you're interesting to them. The texts kept coming too. Mom asking for my address so they could visit. Georgia wanting to know when I'd bought the apartment and how I could afford it. Dad sending links to articles about Blackstone Financial like he'd always followed financial news. It was pathetic, honestly. And insulting. Did they really think I wouldn't notice that their sudden affection was directly tied to my paycheck? By Friday, they must have been getting desperate because Mom sent this long text. Callista, I don't understand why you're not responding to us. We're your family and we love you. We want to be part of your success and celebrate with you. Please don't shut us out. I almost replied to that one. Almost pointed out that they'd had plenty of chances to be part of my life and celebrate with me, and they'd chosen not to. But I caught myself. What would be the point? Saturday morning, I was at home in my pajamas, drinking coffee and reading, when my doorbell rang. I figured it was a package. I'd ordered some new work clothes online to celebrate my promotion. I opened the door, and there they were. All of them. Mom, Dad, Georgia, Scott, even Liam, standing in my hallway with a grocery bag and fake smiles. Surprise! Mom said, like this was some wonderful family reunion. They pushed past me into my apartment before I could react. Georgia immediately started looking around, taking everything in like she was appraising real estate. Wow, Callista, she said, but not in a nice way. More like she couldn't believe I could afford something like this. How much did this place cost you? I ignored her and looked at my mother. What are you doing here? We brought cake and wine, Mom said, pulling items out of the grocery bag like this was perfectly normal. We wanted to celebrate your promotion properly. My promotion was last Saturday, I said flatly. You all refused to come. Mom's smile faltered for just a second. Well, yes, but we didn't realize how big of a deal it was. You should have told us more about your job. I tried to tell you about my job 3 years ago. You weren't interested then. Georgia was still wandering around my apartment, opening cabinets in my kitchen like she lived there. God, Callista, this place must have cost a fortune. I had no idea you were making so much money. And there it was. The real reason they were here. Actually, I said, you don't know anything about my life. You don't know what I make. You don't know when I moved. You don't even know what company I work for. The only reason you're here is because you saw that video of my boss talking about my salary. Dad tried to jump in. Now, Callista, that's not fair. We're here because we're proud of you. Proud of me? I laughed, and it came out bitter. Where was this pride last week? Where was it 3 years ago when I got this job? Where was it 6 months ago when I bought this place? You never told us you bought a place, Georgia said, like that was my fault. I never told you because you never cared enough to ask. The room went quiet. Liam was sitting on my couch looking uncomfortable, probably wondering why all the adults were being weird. Mom cleared her throat. Callista, I think you're being unfair. We've always cared about you. No, I said, my voice getting stronger. You've always cared about Georgia. Remember 3 years ago when I came over with cake and wine to tell you about my new job? Georgia interrupted me to talk about her car wash business, and you all spent the evening celebrating her with my cake and my wine while I sat there invisible. Georgia's face went red. She remembered. That's not how it happened, she said, but her voice was weak. That's exactly how it happened, and it's been happening my whole life. Georgia's engagement, Georgia's wedding, Georgia's pregnancy, Georgia's house, Georgia's business. Everything has always been about Georgia. I was just the backup daughter who showed up when you needed an audience. Mom looked genuinely shocked. Callista, you're our daughter too. We love you. Do you? I asked. Because loving someone means being interested in their life. It means showing up when they ask you to. It means caring about their achievements even when there's no money involved. I walked to my door and opened it. I think you should leave now. Mom started crying as she packed up her cake and wine. Callista, you're tearing this family apart. We're trying to reach out to you and you're being so cruel. Georgia was the worst though. As she walked past me toward the door, she stopped and looked me right in the eye. You know what your problem is, Callista? You've always been jealous of me. Mom and Dad have always loved me more and you can't stand it. Now you have some money and you think you're better than us. I just smiled at her. Georgia, I'm not jealous of you. I feel sorry for you. You're 32 years old and you still need mommy and daddy's approval to feel good about yourself. I don't need that anymore. Dad was the last one out. He paused at my door and said, Callista, you're making a mistake. Family is important. You're right, I said. Family is important. That's why I'm done pretending we're one. I closed the door and locked it. Then I leaned against it and felt this incredible weight lift off my shoulders. For the first time in my life, I'd said exactly what I needed to say to them. The next few months were incredible. I threw myself into my new role at work, and it turned out I was really good at being a boss. My team respected me. My projects were successful. I even got mentioned in the company newsletter as a rising star to watch. I dated without feeling like I had to hide it from anyone. Bought expensive things without guilt. Traveled whenever I wanted. Lived my life exactly how I wanted to live it. My family tried reaching out a few times. Georgia posted passive-aggressive stuff on Facebook about how sad it is when family members turn their backs on people who love them. I didn't engage. Mom sent texts asking me to come home for dinner and work things out. I deleted them without responding. But then, about 4 months after that confrontation, Mom started calling me repeatedly one Tuesday afternoon. 5 calls in a row. I finally picked up because I was curious. Callista, she said, and I could hear desperation in her voice. Thank God you answered. I need to talk to you about Georgia. What about Georgia? She's in trouble, honey. Big trouble. The car wash business is failing and they owe the bank a lot of money. They might lose everything. I waited for her to get to the point. Callista, I know you make good money now, and Georgia needs help. Could you possibly lend her some money to save the business? And there it was. The real reason for the call. No, I said simply. Callista, please. She's your sister. This is what family does for each other. Mom, you're right. This is what family does. But you made it very clear that I'm not really part of this family. Georgia made it clear too. So no, I'm not giving her any money. But Callista, if you don't help her, she could lose her house. She has a child to think about. That's not my problem. Georgia chose to start a business. Georgia chose to take out loans. Georgia chose to risk her family's financial security. Those were her choices, not mine. Mom started crying. Callista, how can you be so heartless? This is your nephew we're talking about. Liam is not my responsibility. He's Georgia's and Scott's. And apparently yours, since you care so much about their situation. I hung up. An hour later, I got a text from Georgia herself. Callista, you are a terrible person. You've always been jealous because Mom and Dad loved me more than you. Now you have money and you won't even help your own family. I hope you're happy being alone. I read it, laughed, and deleted it. She was still trying to make this about jealousy. Still didn't get it. 3 months later, I found out through mutual acquaintances that Georgia and Scott lost the car wash business completely. They had to sell their house to pay off the bank debts. Now they're living with my parents, all 4 of them crammed into my childhood home. Apparently, Mom tells anyone who will listen that it's all my fault, that I'm cruel and selfish and abandoned my family when they needed me most. She told our neighbor Mrs. Lancaster that I forgot where I came from and that money changed me into a horrible person. But here's the thing, I don't care. I genuinely don't care what they think of me anymore. I'm 31 now. Got another promotion 6 months ago. I'm a senior director now, basically 2 levels below the executive team. I bought a house last month, not an apartment, an actual house with a yard and everything. I'm dating this incredible guy from work who treats me like I matter. I have friends who celebrate my successes and support me when things get tough. Sometimes I think about that day 3 years ago when I brought cake and wine to share my good news, and they used my celebration supplies to celebrate Georgia instead. It was actually the best thing that could have happened to me, because it showed me exactly who they were. They're not bad people exactly. They're just people who only care about others when it benefits them. They loved Georgia because she made them feel needed and important. They wanted me back when they thought I could solve their financial problems. But I learned something important. You can't make people love you the way you want to be loved. You can't force them to see your value. You can't make them prioritize you when they've decided you don't matter. What you can do is find people who already see your worth, who celebrate your wins because they genuinely care about your happiness, who show up when you need them and don't expect anything in return. I have those people now, and honestly, I've never been happier. My family can keep their drama and their guilt trips and their conditional love. I'll keep my peace, my success, and my chosen family of people who actually give a damn. Thanks for listening, and if you liked this story, share it with others, and don't forget to comment and subscribe for more stories about finding your worth when the people who should love you most can't see it. Sometimes the hardest boundaries to set are with the people we're taught to love unconditionally.